In the early hours of the 19th of May 1536, Archbishop Thomas Cranmer was woken by his friend Alexander Alesius, the Scottish theologian. Alesius had just experienced a terrible dream. Anne Boleyn's severed neck had appeared to him, vividly and horrifically. Alesius had no idea that Anne was due to die that day, and he'd rushed to tell Cranmer as soon as he woke from the dream. On hearing it, the Archbishop raised his eyes to heaven and said, "She who has been the Queen of England upon earth will today become a queen in heaven." Alesius later recalled that Cranmer then wept, so great was his grief. It's a moving story, and one that gives us a glimpse into the emotional weight of that day. As the 19th of May 1536 dawned, Anne Boleyn, Queen of England and mother of the future Queen Elizabeth I, celebrated the Mass one last time with her almoner. She then ate breakfast and waited for Sir William Kingston, the Constable of the Tower of London, to escort her to the scaffold. When he arrived at 8 a.m, Anne was ready. She'd taken care with her appearance. Her kirtle was crimson, seen by some as a symbol of martyrdom, although it was also a popular colour of the time. And her outfit was trimmed with ermine, a mark of royalty. Rather than the French hood we so often associate with Anne, she chose the English-style gable hood, the same style she'd worn to sit for her 1534 Most Happy Medal. This choice may have been deliberate, a return to tradition for her final moments. Anne was led from the royal apartments to the newly erected scaffold, draped in black and situated on what is now the parade ground between the White Tower and the entrance to the Crown Jewels. Among notable figures present were Charles Brandon, Duke of Suffolk, the King's closest friend, Lord Chancellor Audley, and the King's illegitimate son, Henry Fitzroy. Lancelot de Carle, the secretary to the French ambassador and an eyewitness, later wrote that Anne had never been so beautiful as she was that day. The crowd fell silent as Anne, with what he described as an untroubled countenance, began to speak. "Good Christian people, I have not come here to preach a sermon. I have come here to die." She went on to say that she was judged to die according to the law, and that she would not accuse anyone or defend herself. She prayed God to save the king and praised him as a gentle and sovereign Lord, urging others to judge her cause kindly. Those around her were deeply affected. De Carle recalls how her ladies wept openly while Anne herself remained composed. She paid the executioner and asked his forgiveness. We don't know the identities of the women who attended her that day. The late historian Eric Ives speculated that they may have been replaced with some of her usual ladies, but we have no concrete evidence of this. Anne's mantle was removed. She lifted off her hood and covered her hair with a linen cap. She knelt upright and carefully arranged her skirts for modesty. Then one of her ladies blindfolded her. Sir John Allen, the Lord Mayor of London, is said to have sunk to his knees, as did many others in the crowd, leaving only Suffolk and Henry Fitzroy still standing. Anne prayed aloud, "O Lord, have mercy on me. To God I commend my soul. To Jesus Christ I commend my soul. Lord Jesu, receive my soul." Her only sign of fear was moving her head around, trying to sense where the executioner was and hoping he wouldn't strike until she was ready. The executioner distracted her by calling to his assistant for the sword, but he already had it, and as she turned her head slightly, he swiftly beheaded her with one stroke. It was a quick and clean execution, and the crowd, stunned, quickly dispersed. Her ladies, described by de Carle as nearly dead themselves from languor and extreme weakness, gathered her body and head, wrapped them in a white cloth and carried them to the nearby chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula. But there was a problem. No coffin had been prepared. A yeoman warder was sent to fetch an old elm chest from the Tower armoury, one that had once held bow staves. Anne's remains were placed in it and buried in the chancel near her brother, George Boleyn, Lord Rochford, who'd been executed 2 days earlier. Back outside, the cannons fired, signalling to Londoners that their queen was dead. Courtier Sir Francis Bryan raced off to tell the king's sweetheart, Jane Seymour, the news. And on that very same day, Archbishop Thomas Cranmer issued a dispensation for Henry VIII to marry Jane. Henry and Jane were related, being fifth cousins, but the dispensation was for a marriage in the third and third degrees of affinity. Henry VIII's previous sexual relationships with Mary and Anne Boleyn put him within the prohibited degrees of affinity with Jane because the Boleyn girls were Jane's second cousins. Officially, they were second half cousins, sharing a great-grandmother, Elizabeth Cheney. Anne and Mary Boleyn's mother, Elizabeth Howard, was the daughter of Thomas Howard, Earl of Surrey, Duke of Norfolk, and Elizabeth Tilney, who was the daughter of Elizabeth Cheney and her first husband, Frederick Tilney. Jane Seymour's mother, Marjorie Wentworth, was the daughter of Sir Henry Wentworth and Anne Say, who was the daughter of Elizabeth Cheney and her second husband, Sir John Say. So Jane, Mary and Anne shared a maternal great-grandmother, but had different maternal great-grandfathers. It wasn't enough to cause an impediment to Henry VIII's marriage to Jane, though. It's all rather macabre, isn't it? Anne was dead, and on the very day she lost her life, her rival's path to the throne was being cleared. Jane married the king on the 30th of May and was able to give him a healthy baby boy, a boy who'd become King Edward VI. Yet, although Anne's story is tainted by scandal and tragedy, it was Anne's daughter, Queen Elizabeth I, who's gone down in history as one of England's greatest monarchs, the Virgin Queen, Gloriana, good Queen Bess, and who reigned for over 44 years. Thank you for tuning in, and please do follow me and give me a like and hit that bell for notifications. See you soon. Bye bye.